What is up everybody, Swood here, and today we're going to be going over 5 of my favorite CRL decks, or 5 of my competitive decks that I'll be using in the CRL qualifier. So obviously right now it is April 19th and balance changes are expected to be coming out on 23rd. That's a Monday. They always do Mondays, so that's why all of us are suspecting it's going to be on the 23rd. So we have a couple days before the new balance changes where we suspect the well, basically this deck is going to get nerfed, double prints, and probably spear goblins, goblin hut, those kind of things. Hopefully with a buff to lightning, fireball, magic archer, that kind of stuff, bowler. That's sort of my wish list. Actually, I'm going to be going on Clash Royale's channel hopefully before the balance changes to talk about my wish list, which is basically what I just said right there. That's for another video on Clash Royale's channel hopefully. But for this, trying to take advantage of the last couple days before the balance changes happen. And there's a couple qualifiers for the CRL Combine. So for those who don't know, for the people that got 20 wins and signed up for the tournaments, there's 15 tournaments. If you get top 4 in one of them, Supercell will fly you down to the live event. This is both for Europe and North America, and also the ROW, or the ROW region, is rest of the world, split into both of those two. So you'll be in one of those two regions, unless you're LATAM, Asia, or China. And if you get top 4 in one of the tournaments, they will pay for you to fly out to the live event there to talk with teams to potentially sign for the CRL League. So there's going to be, I think it's two of these qualifiers are going to be before the balance changes. So if you're able to be one of those 8 people in your region who can get in before, then you don't even have to worry about adjusting to the new meta for a couple months until the live event. So it's a good time to take advantage of. I'm going to try to help you guys do that right now. So obviously, in this current meta, the most broken things are Dark Prince is amazingly strong. Prince is a little bit too strong. The Goblin Zap Bait aspect is really strong. These 3, and if you're playing a deck that's not a beatdown, you can throw an Inferno Dragon also as a 4th Zap Bait card. Tesla's a bit strong right now. 3 Musketeer Minion Horde is pretty strong. There's not a lot of great responses to a Minion Horde or 3 Musketeers in general, so that deck, if you're really good with it, you're able to outplay a lot of people. This is a deck I've sort of been playing just to counter the meta, and this Golem Rocket deck is probably the best deck in the game right now. It's got really good splash with the Dark Prince Baby Dragon. You got Rocket, NATO, guards, because you need guards in basically every deck to stop the Dark Prince and the Prince, which are very popular, and Mega Minion Logs. All around great cards. This one doesn't have a pump or a Goblin Hut, just so you don't get punished by like a Bridge Spam or a Expo deck. When you play those, you lose a tower. So this one just doesn't worry about that. It has Golem Rocket, so you shouldn't lose to Expo. And Rocket also for Musketeers. So it's really a really great deck. We'll talk about this one later. So these decks that I've been going over, these are the 5 decks I'm going to be talking about. Obviously there's other good decks, but these are some of the stronger decks that I think you guys would do well with in the Combine. So the Combine itself is going to be like probably 7 rounds of best of 3s, and the people who do have the best records at the end, the top 4 will make it. So probably someone will be 7-0, there'll be a couple 6-1 guys, but each of those 7 sets will be a best of 3. So you're playing like upwards of like 15-20 matches. So you need a good collection of decks, and you need to be able to play a lot of them. Because if you just play one deck, someone's just going to counter you and you're not going to make it very far. So that's why I recommend I put a bunch of different decks up here, and you guys can hopefully take a couple, add them to your collection, and make sure you play a diverse set of decks so people don't counter you. So starting off with this Giant Double Prince deck, we're going to go over a replay with all of them, or I'm going to play a live match. I have replays for 4 of them, but the Golem Rocket we will play live. So this Giant Prince deck, there's not a ton to say about it. Obviously you bait out the Zap with the Zap Bait cards. Normally you want to bait it out with the Spear Goblins if possible, and then you can get more value out of your Goblin Gang or your Bats. And obviously it depends what once you're playing. So you see this guy here, he has a log. Normally this deck has Zap, so I was trying to bait out the Zap with my Spear Goblins so my Bats would get more value, but it turns out he didn't even have Zap, so my Bats are always going to get value, and instead it's just he has to log either my Spear Goblins or my Goblin Gang. So it still works out if they have log or Zap. So obviously this deck, you play a Giant in the back, Prince behind it. You don't want to be playing Dark Prince behind it for the most part. You want to play, unless you're playing like Graveyard or like Guards, a deck that doesn't really need DPS, it needs Splash. But most decks you want to be putting Prince behind it, especially in like a mirror match or against like Expo. And you want to wait, so you play your Giant in the back at 10, and then you wait until you get to 10 or close to it, and you play your prince all the way in the back. You don't want to play your prince at like as soon as your giant's played, or like when you're not at 10 if you don't need to, because the prince is going to run up quicker and it's going to push your giant quicker, so you'll have less elixir to push, and obviously that's not what you want. You want to build up as big a push as possible, so you don't want to do that. If you're playing against like a Golem or a Lava Hound deck, what you do is when they invest in one side, you go hard on the other side. So Golem, it's actually one of the hardest matchups for that Golem Rocket deck. It doesn't have a lot of counters, but one of the matches that is sort of hard if the giant player is really good is this giant double prince deck. So it really just punishing the opposite lane, like a giant prince or giant Megamine or something at the bridge. If you're playing Houndloon, don't play giant Megamine because you want to save your Megamine for the Houndloon, but not your Megamine. This deck doesn't have Megamine. That's the other giant prince. But yeah, you'd go like giant and Goblin Gang and prince or something like that, and the ideal is they just defend it, and then you're able to get like bats on Lava Hound or something along those lines, or prince on or Goblin Gang, prince Goblin Gang, one of the two on the Golem, something like that. So in this match I haven't really been talking a lot, but I was able to break through a Pekka Zappi's deck with giant prince. Shouldn't be possible. It gets a little hairy at the end here, but I'm still able to keep it under control, sort of. But I sort of just wanted to show how I beat through a Pekka deck. So if you guys weren't watching the gameplay, because I sure wasn't, I was talking, just make sure to go back, rewatch the gameplay, sort of watch the decisions that I'm playing, or watch the decisions I'm making, and just think, why am I making those certain decisions. I'll talk about that more in depth for some of the other matchups, but this deck is very popular and a lot of YouTubers have shown a deck guide of this, so I'm sure you guys are well aware about the main premise of this deck, so that's why I'm not talking about this one too much. And you see here I just pressure the left lane so that he's forced to either defend and save his left tower, or he has to go all in and take my right tower. I'm fine with either or, because if he does what he did and defends, then I win, and if he takes the right tower, then I take the left tower and I win 2-1. So either way, it's good. I didn't want to defend hardcore on the right and then mess up and he gets the tower, and then we're 1-1 and I have to play another 3 minutes worth. So the next match up is, or the next deck is the Expo Tesla deck. Obviously you guys are fairly aware of this deck. It's super popular. Obviously it's very cycle heavy. You can have Megamine for skeletons, but skeletons is better in the current meta just because of princes and all that stuff. So I was playing against the dude with Golem. So this deck is actually, I want to show some stuff before you play this matchup. So obviously if you're playing a deck that's not super strong, you can play your Expo at the bridge and break through, but if they're playing a really tanky deck like Golem, you're not always able to play your Golem or your Expo on offense. What you do is like you'll play your Tesla in the middle here, and then you'll play your Golem on your Expo on the opposite side, so that the Golem, as it's walking down on the right lane, is getting shot by a Tesla and an Expo, and I can't poison all three. They have to choose either Tower and Tesla or Tesla and Expo. Then you play your troops on this side, like archers, so they have to choose archers, Tower, Tower and Tesla, or Tesla and Expo. So just make sure you're spreading out your troops, so the 4 different troops, or towers or whatever, they can only choose 2 of them at most. So we'll show that in this replay. If I click the right one, yes I did. So generally if you know they have Golem or Giant, you don't want to play your Expo first, you want to wait for them to play a Pump or a Golem. This guy wasn't the greatest, he played his Golem right away, so for that reason we were able to just Expo at opposite lane and take a good chunk of damage. In that Golem matchup, it's okay to play your Expo because you have two buildings, so you can use your Expo on offense and then use your Tesla on defense. And normally against a beatdown deck, you don't really want to be playing your Expo too much on defense. You'd rather rely on your Tesla. It does a lot more DPS, it's cheaper, you can cycle back to a second one if you need to. But deep in a double elixir against a Golem deck, it's okay to play defensive Expo, or against Giant, but not against Lava Hound. So my gameplay in this one wasn't the greatest. He had a sort of weird deck, but it's sort of just showing how I'm able to defend for like 3-4, I think it's a 4 or 5 minute match against a Golem deck. And he also has Mega Knight and Clone Night Witch, so it gets a little hairy later on, but he gets a clone Mega Knight on my tower, but we're able to get through it. So you see, I'm just, whenever I have the chance, I'm logging or fireballing his troops, and then I'm just using my archers, Ice Golem, all that to kite his troops, protect my Tesla, protect my tower, and all that kind of stuff, and really just make sure I'm getting good value out of those things, using the Ice Spirit, Skeletons, Ice Golem to distract. So you see here, I put my Tesla Expo just like I talked about. I didn't know if he had poison or not, so just in case I was doing that, I put archers because he hadn't played a poison yet, so I wasn't thinking he would play it, but even then, if he did play a poison, he wouldn't be able to hit all 4. So I play a second defensive expo just down there. Placement's fine, it's not a big deal. Main thing was just that he couldn't get to it with like a Mega Knight on the opposite side. So here we're still just defending, started fireball cycling out, so anytime we're going to fireball, we're losing 4 elixir, and that's 4 more elixir he's going to have on us for the push, so every time I fireball it's going to get a little bit more hairy for the gameplay itself. So obviously it's still at 1600 to 800, so we just got to sort of fireball out. He tries to go attack the expo, which is a good choice by him, but you can see we're using our cards like Skeletons and Ice Spear and Ice Golem to distract that, so it doesn't get as much damage as he may have hoped. And at this point we're really just fireball cycling. The thing about this expo deck is so fast that you're able to cycle like 2 sets of fireballs and logs on like a single push, so you don't have to like fireball, defend, push, fireball. If you're really close to the end of the game, you can fireball, log, Ice Golem, Skeletons, Archers, Tesla, fireball, log, and you win before they even get their giant or their golem to the bridge, which is sort of what happened right here. So that's playing expo. Obviously that was against a beatdown deck, so there's a lot of different matchups that are different, but I've shown lots of videos on my channel previously about expo decks, both this one and the Ice Wizard, so make sure you guys check out both of those. So next up is 3 Musk Minion Horde. I have a match here against Giant Hunter, which is a really not a good matchup, and he also has double small spells, so he has Zap to pair with like the Poison or the Hunter for my Minion Horde, and he has the Log for my guard. So this is not an easy matchup, so we're going to show this one. Basically the premise of playing against like any kind of giant poison deck is you want to, when you pump, obviously they only have 1 poison, and you have a Minion Horde, you have a pump, and you have 3 musketeers. So it's all about baiting out or when they have their spell out of hand, getting value out of the other ones, or forcing it out of their hands by playing like a Minion Horde, so they have to poison it, so that once they poison that you can play your pump, or things like that. So that you'll see me doing that a lot. Also this deck has minor, which makes it really hard, because you sort of lose one of those bait cards, a pump, they're always going to minor it. So really your poison just between the musketeers or the Minion Horde, unless you're able to get a really good situation down. So we'll watch how it goes here. So he plays a minor, I zap tower, and then he plays a minor, I guards it, and I think we're just going to, or we were going to support this with minor, but he played Hunter, so we just played 3 musketeers in the back. So the reason I played 3 musketeers in the back is 1, I could try to bait out a spell, 2, I'm splitting those 3 musketeers at 3 elixir to the left lane and 6 elixir to the right lane. What I'm doing is he has a troop coming in the left lane, so I'm able to kill that with my musketeers, so I'm already getting value. So this isn't a 9 elixir, to me I'm not seeing this as 9 elixir musketeers, I'm seeing this as 5 elixir musketeers, because I'm already going to kill a 4 elixir card, so it's 9 minus 4 is 5. So that's sort of why you'll see me play musketeers early. Not everyone does this, but like if they played like a Night Witch or a Hunter or a Knight in back, and I have 3 musketeers in hand, I will always split my 1 musketeer to that lane, just because that's going to get me value, and also at the same time it will offset my musketeers, so the lane with 2 will push forward first, and then after that's done, then I have the other lane to push because it stopped to shoot. So that's sort of what I went with here. He ends up poisoning out my musketeers on the right, which in theory would let me either, well, the Minion Horde's going to get a lot of value obviously, or I could play my pump. So ideally I'd like to play my pump, but because my Ice Golem died to the Hunter, I want to throw a Dark Prince in front of it and try to support this musketeer to try to do something. So he ends up playing a Giant and Mega Minion, so at this point I'm not able to play a pump because he'll just minor it, and I still need to defend this first. So I didn't want to waste my Minion Horde, so I tried to defend this with a minor and guards. It obviously didn't work out as great as suspected, so I should have just played a Minion Horde, and he would have had defended with a zap on the other way, where this one he was able to just let it go. So it didn't work out as planned, but Minion Horde would have been a better option. I was just trying to save it. If I could have caught his minor with my minor, then I could have killed his minor, killed his giant, and tanked his Mega Minion with that minor. So here I pump in the right lane because I know that his minor's out of hand. If the minor's out of hand, you play it on the far side, so that they have to poison the pump and tower instead of the left lane because the left lane's lower. And I play in the corner instead of inside because there's less spots for the minor to go. If you play on the inside, they have the bottom spot behind the king tower, so it's 1 extra spot you have to predict. So it's really like a 1 out of 2. You can either play on the bottom or the side, whereas if you play it in the closer to the king tower, there's below, above, or beside, so it's 3. So notice here I played my pump first and then I played my ice golem. This is just so that I could cycle back to my pump 1 card sooner. So instead of having to play 4 more cards to get to my pump, I only have to play 3 more. So that's just something to consider. And I'll play my second pump if I get one, probably in the middle, depending on minor and poison stuff. But so here, generally what you want to do against a big push is you want to put your 1 musketeer in the lane of the beatdown, and you want to go 2 in the opposite lane and sort of push the opposite lane. They have to defend that, and then they don't have a great push on the other side. What I did here is, because I knew he was going to poison the 2 musketeers anyways, I decided to put the 2 musketeers on this side, and while he's poisoning them, and he also ends up zapping them, so while he's spending a 6 elixir to kill them, they're also getting value to kill his giant. And then my 1 musketeer walks away, and it's a 3 elixir musketeer that's going to shoot the tower, or he'll have to defend it. So he ends up shooting them. I'm defensive minor to kill the giant and tank for the hunter once the musketeers die. I think that was me that zapped. And so at this point you see my musketeer got like 500 damage on that side. He wasn't able to poison my pump, so I'm able to get a second pump if I really wanted. Instead I go for Dark Prince Minion Horde, and then he minors my tower for some reason, so I know that I'm able to pump again. But he'll have poison in hand again, so I play my 3 musketeers so that hopefully he'll poison them, and then again in theory I can play my pump. So I always got to be cognizant of when he has poison in hand, when he doesn't, when he has minor, but also when he has poison in hand, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm able to pump. I have to be aware if he's going to be able to punish me with a giant and combo, or not, so I could use Minion Horde instead of pump or things like that. So you can see here I didn't want to pump, so I decided to push with my Minion Horde. I think it was 1 musketeer. My other troops, he was always playing his minor in the back, so I caught it with a Dark Prince. He poisons it for some reason, and we just push all our troops at the bridge and take the game here. So that's kind of how you play against a giant minor deck. It's not easy by any means, but we were able to make it work in this matchup. I'm also not a great 3 musketeer player, but I love playing it. It's a really strong deck that I'm trying to learn for CRL. So next up will be the bridge spam. This bridge spam deck, how do I say this? It does good against beatdown decks like Golem, Giant, Lava Hound, and it also beats 3 musketeers because it has such a great punish. Like you have Fireball for the 3 musketeers, or you're able to like play, when they play a pump, you're able to play, or a tank in the back, you're able to play Ice Golem, Battle Ram comboed with like Minions, Bandit, Dark Prince, or like one or two of those. And it's really just like really hard to stop, and then they have to defend that so hard, or else they'll take their tower, and then you can just Infernal Drake in the tank. So that's kind of how it works. This deck obviously does good against, like I said, Golem, Giant, Lava Hound, 3 musketeers, and Expo also because you have so many tanks. But it doesn't do so good against like a graveyard control, a minor control, spellbait, basically the control decks. It does good punishing or tanking instead of trying to break through a deck that's made to defend. So I have a matchup here against 3 musketeers, the Zappies version with Bandit, Lumberjack. So this is obviously a fairly good matchup. Something you guys may not know about Fireball is if you place it in the middle, like where the musketeers will be split preemptively, and like you're hovering it, when they play your musketeers, you're able to drop it and it will hit the musketeers in time. Like you're able to play it reactively and hit all 3 musketeers if you're quick enough. You don't have to predict it. So that's really huge, especially if they buff Fireball by a little bit the travel distance. It'll be even easier, but it's still possible right now. So sort of in this matchup, you're able to get really, with this deck, you're able to get really strong counter pushes. So say like he pushes down with 1 card, I defend it with my Dark Prince, I'm able to throw an Ice Golem in front and like a bunch of troops behind it, and you just shove it down their throat. There's not too much they can do in this or like against this deck, unless they have like a Tesla, Ice Golem, and all these really defensive cards. But you see here, he plays a pump, so what I'm going to do is I play Ice Golem in front, and then I throw my Battle Ram and my Bandit. If I knew he had Minion Horde, I would have played my Minions instead and then zapped the Minion Horde, but I knew he didn't have that, so I played my Bandit instead. So that's basically how you play this deck. You defend and then you counterattack and try to get an elixir lead, and then eventually they're not able to defend it. Or like I said, against beatdown, you go opposite lane, punish, and then, or against a elixir collector, and then they lose a tower or lose their push, which is obviously a good trade for you. Here I was trying to hit all 3 and the pump, Didn't end up working, so I hit the elixir collector and 2, which I could have done without activating King Tower, but I was trying to hit the third one to be a cool kid. I was learning, so it didn't end up working out, but that's fine. So I played my Ice Golem lower down. That's really important. So I played my Ice Golem lower down. If it was a lone bandit, I'd play it higher up so that the bandit wouldn't charge, but I played it lower down so that it would charge to the Ice Golem, and then once the Ice Golem died, it would walk to my King Tower. Instead of charging to the Ice Golem, charging to the tower, it just charges to my Ice Golem, walks to the tower. So you want to avoid the charge, basically. So I played it lower down so that he wouldn't do that. Something else, even if you have like a lone Ice Spirit and you have nothing else for the bandit, instead of trying to Ice Spirit it high up, you want to play your Ice Spirit really low so that the bandit will charge and kill the Ice Spirit and then walk to the tower. Instead of charging to the tower, you'll get less damage if he walks to the tower. So Ice Golem Minions was able to clean up the left lane push, and we're up 1 elixir. Basically what we want to do is when he pumps, we want to throw everything at the bridge. So what I was really tempted to do here is something that if you know that they're going to play something, like a peck in the back or they're about to pump, you can play at the same time if you know their elixir. So like I knew he wanted to pump, but I knew I was up a little bit, so if I knew we were the same elixir, he was up like 1 elixir, as soon as I hit 10, I would just instantly throw my Dark Prince Bandit battle ram at the bridge, and at the same time he would play a pump. But I knew that I was up a little bit, so I couldn't do that, so I just started a Bandit a little lower down. Hopefully like right now he'd play his pump, and I could throw everything, but he saw my Bandit, so he didn't do that. So he just splits his zappies, and I build up from the back. Unfortunately, I could have waited 1 elixir and put his pump, but I wasn't sure how accurate my prediction was, so I didn't want to risk it. So I'm able to fireball the 2 musketeers. They already split by the time I had my fireball, so I didn't hit all 3. Then he throws it. Don't look at this left play, I messed it up, but basically I should have just like zapped or threw an Ice Golem or zapped the musketeers and then defended the Dark Prince, but I sort of wasted like an extra 3 musketeer with an extra 3 elixir with the minions, sorry, not the musketeers. So here we're just going to build up a push. Inferno Dragon doesn't get a lot of value in this matchup, so normally you don't even play it, but it's just sort of to kill the Lumberjack and build behind my push. So in this matchup, the one thing you could do with your Inferno Dragon, or if you have Inferno Dragon in other decks and you're sort of struggling to find a way to play it against 3 musketeers, you just play it on the 1 musketeer lane and it can trade evenly with the musketeer, or 4 for 3 depending on how you count the musketeers. But he's able to snipe out the bandit here, the Inferno Dragon that is, and let my battle ram connect, which is really good. And now we just need, what is that, 820, I can see through my computer. So we just need like 4 fireballs, which isn't really too realistic, or something else. So we hit all the musketeers. They were held in place because of my minions, but even if they weren't, I was going to hit all 3 because I was sitting there hovering and I knew that he was playing musketeers. So I would have hit all 3 anyways. So he tries to throw a Lumberjack in front of that. I throw an Ice Golem because my Ice Golem death damage will kill the musketeer, and then I basically just got a free defense on the Lumberjack from the Ice Golem. So I let the Lumberjack go, obviously not ideal. I should have defended it, but I was just trying to end the game because it was going pretty deep and I didn't want that. So I threw a lot of stuff at the bridge. He actually was able to defend it fairly well, but he let the Dark Prince connect to his tower through splash damage, so it worked out for me. Overall, I should have defended that Lumberjack though and taken the game a bit farther. So we have one more deck to show, and that is this Golem Rocket deck. So I'm actually going to play a game with this Golem Rocket, so I'm going to have to look down. Apologies about that, but basically with this deck you just want to wait sort of till you have either an elixir advantage, the win condition is out of hand, or double elixir to play your Golem. I'll explain that a bit more. Also, you always want to wait with this deck, or any like beatdown deck, because we might have to do a second one. Because the heavier deck wants to wait to double elixir, so there's no reason for me to struggle through single elixir if the other person's willing to wait and not play any cards with me. So, oh my god, Harry Potter is here. Oh my god. We're just gonna let that go. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this one. We're gonna have to do a second one. I'm so shook. So explaining how to play goal, or when to play goal, that's what I'll do next. So the reason you want to wait for one of those things I said, one, if you're up elixir, then they won't have as much elixir to punish you in the opposite lane, which is obviously good. If you wait for their win condition, say you're playing Hog Cycle, or playing like Hog Exinado, Oh my god, I didn't even notice those. So if you're waiting for them to play like their hog, or they played their hog already, you'd rather play your golem then, because instead of them pushing opposite lane, like I was talking about with bridge spam, they have nothing to push opposite lane, so they have to defend, and they're able to rock it out or get splash damage or attack, kill their stuff while it's shooting the golem. But if they, so like he just played his E-barb, so if he doesn't play anything before me, I will play this. It's sort of weird because he has E-barbs and Royal Giant, but this is a weird deck. But on the opposite, if he had Hound or Hog in hand, I don't want to play my Golem, because then he can push with Ice Golem, Hog, and like minions, and I have like nothing to really defend it. If I defend it with like Baby Dragon NATO, then I have nothing to defend the push, and he'll be able to Inferno Tower my Golem or something else, because he doesn't have Inferno Tower in the deck, but you know what I mean. So that's why you want to play it when the win condition's out of hand. And lastly, what was the last one? Oh, once it's double elixir, you're able to play it fairly easy because they're not able to punish as well. So we are going to Golem at the river, because I think the Inferno Tower is still to cycle. It's hard to keep cycle, and of course he has a Sparky. Nice. Dark Prince is going to die to that, and we're going to rocket it. This is... Don't you guys just love this deck? Oh, I missed it because of the knockback. So he's going to throw in a Royal Giant in front of that. So we're actually going to tornado this all back, try to kill Harry the Wizard with a log, and we need to kill that Sparky. So we're actually going to lose this match just because I've like not been paying attention at all. I let the E-barbs get like 100 or like 1,000 damage on my tower for no reason. So this guy's probably going to think he's a good player and go brag that he beat Swood, but we'll get into another one. We'll focus a bit more. I'll just try to give you guys my thought process on the actual match instead of trying to give you the thought process of Golem as a whole. So starting hand, I don't want to play my Golem obviously or Rocket. I have Baby Dragon or Log when he plays, but I don't want to play first, so I'm just gonna wait. If he plays a Golem or a Giant or Golem or Lava Hound back, I would follow with my own Golem in the same lane. But if he wants to wait, I'm just perfectly fine waiting. So I'm still waiting. Bats do nothing. If he sees me wait, then he's like, okay, we can wait. But he has a cycle deck, so he doesn't really want to wait. So he actually has a Giant 3 Musketeers, I think, because that is the... No, I guess not. He has a really weird 3 Musk deck. It's just a cycle deck. So he's trying to cycle back to a second pump right now. So this deck's sort of hard. The Minion Horde version is obviously a bit easier because you have Baby Dragon NATO for the Minion Horde. But this version, you're alright also. So he's just really trying to cycle back to another Elixir Collector. So we're going to set up a Golem so that he can't do that. He doesn't really have a great pressure with this deck. He will play his Musketeers. If he plays them behind the tower, you can tornado those too. See, he wasn't even at 10 Elixir when he was playing those. Oh, that did work. Cool. I didn't know if that would work or not. So we're going to play Baby Dragon because we want to keep the Dark Prince for this side. Or guards Dark Prince ideally, but I don't think we'll have enough Elixir, so we have to let the Dark Prince lock on. So we're sort of trading towers here. We'll see if we'll be able to defend though. No, so we are going to lose our tower too, but that's alright. We have a fairly heavy deck, so we are alright trading. And we just got to make sure not to sustain too much damage. So we'll throw a Mega Minion in there. So obviously, ideally, you would be able to play guards, surround the Dark Prince, and then you play your own Dark Prince on the Musketeers, but I just didn't have enough Elixir. But it's alright, look at, we got a lot more damage than he did. Start up another Golem push, and if he tries to pressure, we can just defend that. So like I said, we are going to surround the Dark Prince, then we'll play a Baby Dragon, and log the Bandit to kill it, and now my Golem's in front, so it will tank everything. So now he's probably going to push this lane. We will throw a Dark Prince behind that, and we're getting lots of value with this Tornado. Notice we're gonna kill those Musketeers in a second with all our splash troops, and we'll keep on building up more splash troops. So basically, he just committed 9 Elixir to its death. So that's how we're gonna be able to win this one. And now we just save a bit of Elixir just in case he's gonna play something in the middle. And there we go, it's a wrap. Tornado the bats to the tower, so our Baby Dragon's able to kill it. So that's kind of how you play against your Musketeer. It's a bit easier with the Minion Horde version, but notice how I pulled the Tornado. So that tornado was actually pretty bad. Let me just show you quickly in a... So for tornadoes, if they play it behind the king tower, you normally want to tornado it to the lane of the one musketeer, or the two musketeers, because it's easier to pull one musketeer to the two musketeer side than the way I did it. That normally doesn't work, so don't try that. I don't know why I tried it, but I was just sort of set on that. And if it's above the tower, like you just play it in the corner there, like all the way in the corner. And if they are playing it like, or if it's up here, a bit more up here, you just play it like over here, like sort of on this row, the fourth one, the corner tile, and just like up a bit. There's not an exact tile, but that's kind of the gist of how you pull musketeers to the opposite lane. So I hope you guys like those decks. There's the last couple matchups. RG Sparky, Inferno Tower, but we're able to beat a real deck with Musketeers, so hopefully you guys got a good guide of all 5 of those decks, and yeah, hopefully you guys do good in the CRL Combines. Obviously I'm going to be competing myself, and once I win one of them or get top 4 in one of them, I will definitely be bringing you guys my recap video, just sort of going over all the gameplays for myself and for you guys, and also happening in the life of Swood. Like I said earlier at the start of the video, we are going to go on Clash with the Ashes channel hopefully this weekend to talk about balance changes and clan wars and all that kind of stuff before the update hits. And I think I'm going to be playing Zillies in a best of 5, so hopefully I can bring that to you guys if it's entertaining. You guys, I think, would be able to take a lot from that. So those are the next couple of videos that I'm looking at, but really just focusing on the CRL Combine. So wish me luck with that, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.